Welcome back to episode 132 of Thoughtify.
Putting in work. Putting in work. Welcome back. 136. You said that right?
142, actually.
All right, perfect. Yeah, no, but 17. 17, man.
Who would have thought we'd make it this far
Not me.
and not get canceled yet?
Well, a lot of words to be said. A lot of words to be said.
There's still a lot to discuss. That's true. There's
Yeah,
still time. There's definitely still time.
there's a bunch to discuss today.
Tell you what, there's yeah, there is a lot. Let alone, man, I don't know, not to go down the tangent of the drone stuff from last week, but I like how it's kind of just, it hasn't fully disappeared from the news outlets, but it kind of has. There just isn't that much discussion. And it just seems like, I don't want to say anyone's not caring, but it just doesn't seem like there's that heavy of an emphasis as there has been in the last couple weeks.
Well, it was funny because I was talking to a friend earlier today, and it's the guy whose house I'm in, my buddy Mike, and he's in Croatia, and we were just catching up. And he had asked me, he's like, so what's been like the reaction to the United Healthcare assassination? And, you know, in Croatia, he told me the story about he walked in and his wife, her parents, like a few of their friends were like staring at the TV really intently. There was this guy being arrested for government corruption. Do you know what his crime was?
What?
And it was like a big deal. He took a $20,000 bribe.
That's just like, I feel like that's just so laughable over here because you know what happens on buku scales,
But
higher positions.
yeah, and it's just like you kind of being out of it. I was like, it's crazy because even news like that, it just within a week fades into the background and is only relevant when there's a major update. You
Yeah.
know, it's just news here. There's so much going on constantly that everything just comes and goes. So even if it's the biggest story in the world, maybe for a month it will be the actual biggest story. But after that, and a lot of times way before that, that thing gets dropped off and you just don't hear about it. The news stops reporting on it. And once that happens and it's always replaced by something else, that something else is attractive enough from just a general like having to think about something standpoint that you rationalize like, well, that's not as important as this.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff. Just looking at, I mean, thinking of, I mean, the most prominent one that pops to mind is the Hunter Biden laptop. Just love how that just completely disappeared. And the fact that before Joe Biden leaves office, he's given like over, I mean, some ridiculous number of pardons to all these parties that have been involved in very, very sketchy stuff conveniently right before he leaves office. I mean, pardoning his own son from everything that he's done in the last 10 years and everything going forward. Wasn't that the case? It was just complete immunity overall.
Yeah, but that's actually from what I've heard. So even if he's not going to be prosecuted for his crimes, but when that happens, you lose the right to remain silent. So he will be asked questions and he has to tell the truth about what was actually happening.
I
So
hope that's the case.
that is the one part that they have as a, recourse to that a little bit. Yes, you're pardoned, but now you lose the right to remain silent when asked about it and you have to tell everything.
Man, I really hope someone actually corners the crap out of him and questions him beyond belief.
That would
Just
be nice.
imagine all the detail that would come to light. But then the kicker is, too, do you think Hunter Biden would actually tell the truth?
Well, it's a matter of pressure. If he had enough legitimate pressure to, be incentivized to tell it, or if there was enough known about something to where the answer could only be one thing or another. It's just about things that you can ask a question about at that point, and for I it's probably going to be different for every topic.
Yep.
There's going to be some things that he has to say. There's probably going to be some things that he tries to lie about, but I think there's enough known about the general situation that hopefully people or the people examining this will be able to point out a lie.
Speaking of just kind of prosecution and cases, do you hear the one case in Georgia that one of the DAs brought against Trump. I think her name is like Fannie Williams. She basically brought this suit against Trump for 2020 election stuff. And long story short, she just got thrown off the case. Her own case, she got thrown off because of a lot of conflict of interests.
Yeah, I
So
bet,
it's
man.
just like, oh my gosh. I love it. I mean, I absolutely love it because it was complete bullcrap in the first place. But it's just, it's nice to see that justice and the truth continues to come out. Like all those court cases in New York that Alan Bragg was bringing against Trump and all these other ones, they're just getting dropped one by one. They're falling like dominoes.
Yeah, it's definitely something to where it's become a witch hunt without a doubt, and it sucks because it's going to continue to be that no matter what. And it was
Yep,
crazy because even when he was not in office, it was just like a constant attention and witch hunt, and just trying to find anything that they could frame as horrible and like deplorable. And it's like, listen, man, the best explanation I've ever heard is, you know, when you're on a golf course with someone and you're watching their swing and you critique their swing, but then they swing like they do and they hit a better ball than you. And you know what I'm a fan of? I'm a fan of where the ball lands, not necessarily making sure the swing is perfect.
absolutely.
So,
I disagree.
please, sir, present your case.
I'm just kidding.
I know.
Just pull a Happy Gilmore and hit it as hard as you possibly can.
Well, that's the trick, is actually hitting it, you know.
Yep,
If it was if that was just the case, then there'd be a lot more people that don't break golf clubs.
that's true. You want to know something really cool?
What?
On last week's episode, how you and I talked about Willow, the quantum computing chip. That
Okay, I want to update something about that, but go on.
um, we talked about it before Joe Rogan did.
Did we?
We did. He
Is he
talked
copying
about it.
us?
I think so. In his most recent episode with Ryan Graves, if you haven't listened to it, go listen to it. Talk about, of course, all the drone stuff. Really, just good podcast. They definitely go off, or Joe goes off on his tangents like usual. But they eventually talk about the quantum computing chip Willow, and I was like, we talked about it before him.
Listen, man,
We're
once you
taking
start getting
over.
big, people start ripping content, and that's just,
It's true.
that's just a form of flattery.
Extreme flattery. So
But
we're just the number one podcast. Just kidding.
so I do want to update something. When I said that, and I know that this is in some sense right, but I may have, in terms of this specific case, I definitely got it wrong. Quantum computers, at least this one, wasn't just specifically using atoms to compute. The reason this implicates a multiverse is because it was utilizing something called quantum superposition, or at least I'm probably butchering that, but that's a general idea, and it's where a I don't know if it's an electron or some type of particle or element, whatever it might be, not element, just particle, a quark maybe. It can exist in multiple states at the same time. So it's essentially taking information from those different states, which could indicate that it's, at least from what I got from the explanation, that it could be taking that information from different universes that have already like tried to figure this out and minimize, take that much information and minimize how long it would take to actually access the information. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So it's using the fact that something can exist in the same place, no, in different places in multiple states, to essentially pull information from each one of those states or
Yeah.
multiple of them.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Just the fact that that's even a thing is insane to me. Just thinking about that. Like it's pulling from, you're solving an equation, but you're able to pull from not only like say a graphing calc, like an old school. We're,
Yeah.
we're talking old school at this point, but you're able to do it and run numbers on a graphing calculator. You can search the internet. You have a book, and it's like you yourself being the quantum chip, pulling from all those different resources to get to the final answer.
And oh man, I have to tell you something.
Uh-oh.
And I looked this up to confirm it was true in terms of look for the actual sources. This was an MIT technology. This is a reported on thing. So we have taken human brain cells and put them in a petri dish and grown them to where they start growing a brain. And then we've hooked up that biological brain to AI chips and have legitimately, like the scientists who work on these say these things are fully sentient. So they put it into like a computer program and it taught itself how to play Pong. And then it supports the fact that we are very likely in a simulation because again, this is a living thing. This is AI put into a human tissue brain, and they're interfacing, and they have a way that they can allow the electrons to interface properly through that, and they put it into a simulation of a butterfly just flying around a garden, and the thing starts to fly like a butterfly, and legitimately that thing is existing, 100% existing in that simulation, believing that it is that butterfly.
Interesting. That's pretty trippy.
Like most scientists who have worked on this say this they are definitely they think like when they're not being worked with, their thoughts just keep going.
Man. So that's like, I mean, what was it? Who was it? Michio Kaku, the one Japanese like astrophysicist, um, or whatever physicist he is, but talking about the concept of being able to bridge the gap between biologics and then technology, getting to a point sometime in the future to where you can potentially theoretically shoot your consciousness out into the universe, and rather than being limited by a physical form, you can just go consciously.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds like, version 1.0 of that.
Well, the only downside to that, what he was saying, because I've seen what you're talking about, is that you can put your consciousness onto a laser, and that laser
Yeah.
would travel at the speed of light across, or you could program your consciousness into a laser, and that would be shot across the galaxy at the speed of light as a laser. Um, but the speed of light is, even though it's the limit of the universe in terms of physics, it still takes a really, really long time for something to get anywhere in
Right.
space, anywhere significant. So it would be efficient for, you know, maybe like the closest star to us or something like that. But outside of that, I think gravity manipulation in terms of what we're seeing is the right way to go.
Yeah.
If I had to advise our human race on which step to take, if we have not already
The world
reverse
listening.
engineered this,
Yep. Tell them.
and this is probably where they're coming for this information, so I appreciate that.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, all the top tier scientists, Michio Kaku, if you're listening, which I know you are, just kidding. This is
We
where
know
you
you
find.
are.
This
Go
is
ahead
where
and
you
donate.
find
Come
all the
on,
good
just
stuff.
donate.
Come on.
All right, what are we
Yeah.
looking at?
I was looking up some things about space naturally.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh, you always talk about space. I'm kidding, we both do.
yeah. But I mean, we kind of promised the viewers and listeners a little bit of the moon landing debate.
Yeah, yeah, we did.
Fun fact, we're not going to do it, so get over it.
Yeah, I wish you guys would stop asking.
Guys, come on. We're getting blown up via our email, our computers, like just social media, texting.
It
Everyone
went
just
from
wants us
fan
to do it.
mail to death threats over whether or not we do the moon conversation.
Exactly. Or else they're going to keep chanting, Keegan has low T. Keegan has low T.
Listen, it's a thing, it's a
So,
brand. It's
yeah,
demure.
demure. It's so demure.
What is that? It's demure.
I don't know.
Very
I'm
pleasant.
not cool enough. I'm not keeping up with the hype
Listen,
like these
man,
young kids do these days.
what I need to do is I need to try to channel my inner 17-year-old.
Because we're on episode 17.
Hey, and guess
Whoa.
guess when my birthday is?
Ju-
July 17th.
I feel like that this is a multiverse moment. Like on Earth 17,
Hey, maybe we are.
somewhere out there,
Maybe
they're
we're that
talking.
close. Maybe we're that close to base reality.
What if they're just saying hypothetically, if there's a multiverse,
Yeah, there very likely is.
What Earth do you think we are?
I mean, that's indicating that there's an actual. I don't think that you could necessarily say that any of them, any of the, there was like a first one. I think in terms of the
Could be.
idea of having to think about a multiverse, you would also have to kind of break your logic on other things, and the idea of something being first wouldn't be a necessary way to describe it. They
So you're
probably
telling me
all
the Marvel Cinematic Universe isn't true? It's not accurate. There isn't an Earth.
they can count them from the idea of finding what they find, but there's no count to the universes.
You're telling me there's no Earth 717?
We could call ourselves that.
I mean, it just reminds me of what Marvel's getting ready to do for whatever next phase they're on.
What is that?
That, Robert Downey Jr. played Iron Man. He was the
Oh
good
yeah.
guy. Now he's Victor Von Doom. He's playing the bad guy of the
Vector
next
Von
phase,
Doom, yeah.
which is honestly kind of cool. He's going to be a really good bad guy. I'm all about it. He's just the bad version of Iron Man.
Oh, okay.
Super rich, super smart, except, yeah, he's just a
It's
bad guy
not a
now.
cool guy.
He's a really cool guy. We hung out last week.
He
Says he liked.
definitely doesn't put the grocery cart back in the place where they
Ooh,
can go grab them again.
as Victor Von Doom wouldn't do that.
He
Nope,
wouldn't
no
do it.
sir.
And
Iron
listen,
Man would.
those are the type of people that if you're that person, you better keep your head on a swivel.
Because they could
We're
run a
coming for you.
grocery cart in the back of your legs and dead leg you.
That would not gonna lie, that'd be a pretty effective way to take someone out, honestly.
Yeah, can't really do much against
A
that.
grocery cart to the double Achilles.
To the Achilles. Oh my gosh, he got me, Jimmy. He
Hey,
got me. I'm going down. I can't help it.
yeah, that would
Like
be
the
a
Vulcan neck pinch, but for your feet.
say it again.
It's like the Vulcan neck pinch, but for your feet.
The Vulcan neck pinch.
Are you telling me you don't know what that is? Oh my
No.
gosh. From Star Trek, Spock, he like sticks his fingers
Oh,
on
like
your
where he
neck and
just
then you just
touches the
go
shoulder.
and then you just collapse.
Nope. I can
Wow.
probably. I mean,
Wow.
did you ever actually watch Star Trek, or
Not
did
the
you
old
just?
stuff, but the movies with Chris Pine, those were
Yeah,
decent.
so you never watched Star Trek?
I mean the new ones,
No, that's a movie, not the
not
show.
the show. I've watched
Yeah,
Star Trek
I
though.
was just asking. It doesn't mean
I've watched
anything.
it.
No, you haven't.
I've watched some Star Trek, yes.
You've seen clips of it.
I've
Have you
seen
ever
them.
sat down and
What?
intentionally watched an episode of Star Trek, like from start to
No, I
finish?
said the movies, not the show.
Yeah, and I'm just saying,
Have
you
you?
haven't watched the
You
show.
haven't
Neither
even
have I.
seen any
Neither
of
have
them.
I.
You
I'm not
haven't even
saying I
seen
have.
any of them.
I'm not. I have seen the Star Trek movies.
But you
They're
didn't know what the
great.
Vulcan neck pinch was.
Well, that is
You're
a
not a
very
fan.
specific name, and I don't
You're
think
not a fan.
that's probably no. I'm not going to say I am.
Next thing you're going to tell me is Tolkien sucks and Lord of the Rings is horrible. That's the way
Who's
this
Tolkien?
conversation's going. You
I'm kidding.
shut your
I'm
mouth.
kidding. I'm
You
kidding.
shut your mouth.
You
All right, guys.
shut
Thanks for joining
your
this week.
whole
I am
mouth. Huh?
triggered. I am now triggered, and I am leaving this podcast.
Well,
This
it
is the
was
last
fun.
episode our audience is ever going to hear, and it's ending on a bad note.
It's been music to their ears.
They're like, finally! Oh my gosh!
Oh my gosh!
It's
Every
finally
member of our
ending.
family is like, "We can stop now, guys. They gave up."
we can stop pretending we liked it.
All right, we don't have to talk about this ever again. And maybe 2 more weeks, then they'll go on to something else.
The weight's off of our backs.
Yeah,
But we hope you guys like this podcast.
it's a little close to home.
Because it's fun and we're going to keep doing it. So you better
It
listen.
really is fun. I really have a good time doing it. It's just
It's kind
something
of
to
like a
look
good
forward
therapy
to.
session.
It really is. You get some stuff out. You become more politically correct, or find the correct way to.
Or
You
not.
know,
You just
well,
go the exact
I'm
opposite
saying
way.
the correct way to express your personality, even if it's not politically correct.
True.
It's crazy when people are listening to you.
It is.
Well, shout
We
out to the
just
person listening right now.
heck yeah. Man, it'd be fun to do a live episode.
You want to do
But
it like
let's do it on Christmas Day.
in an intersection
Christmas
in downtown
morning.
Dallas?
Yeah. We'll just do it on like in a popular coffee shop.
We
Or
could go to like the park in downtown. Isn't that
Clyde Warren.
Clyde Warren Park?
Yep.
And we could do it there, just right in the middle of everything.
Honestly, there's a meat casino over there, isn't there? And there's tables set up on a
You want to get
patio, and we
Mexican
could just
food?
set up right there.
Dude, get some
Keegan
chips, some
Keegan
guac.
loves Mexican food.
Oh man, but if we got chips and guac, I would probably not talk as much. This is really fun. I'm glad you guys are having a good
I'll
time.
take another margarita.
Now,
Yeah.
did you put another shot in this? Can I get a shot? Can I get a shot? Okay, we're back.
Confirming that you heard me when I said it gets to this level, you're bringing out another.
You know it's about one more drink. One more drink. It's gonna get to that level. You're gonna bring it? Cool.
What do you
You're the
mean
best,
it's not
man.
happy hour?
Sir, you've been here for 6 hours. Yeah, when I got here, it was happy hour.
Exactly. What do you mean it doesn't continue? Am I not grandfathered into this?
Is there not like a happy hour after a happy hour? Is not every hour happy?
It's
Come on.
called the post happy hour.
Come on.
Who we kidding here, huh?
What are we doing?
But that's a good kind of put a pin in that one. That'd be fun to do though.
Probably not, but
Yeah, we shouldn't do it.
I'm
Whatever.
not going to do it.
We're notoriously pretty solid at thinking of good ideas and majority of the time just talking about it and never ever doing it. Except this podcast. We proved ourselves wrong.
We really did. And look at us 17 episodes.
We're so popular. But shall we jump in to this heavily
Lay out the points. Lay out the
debated?
points.
All right. So
Present your arguments, sir.
we did some pseudo research and the points in favor proving that we landed on the moon. We'll dive into each of them, but I'm just going to give a high level overview real quick. So, number one, footprints and tracks. Number two, there's actual lunar samples. Number three, we'll dive into this one too, laser reflectors.
Yep, I've heard that
Number
one.
four, photographic and video evidence.
Okay.
That one's hotly debated. Third party observations, scientific data and experiments,
Okay.
consensus of eyewitnesses and
Okay.
participants.
Is that it?
Yes. I mean, those were some of the high level points.
Okay.
And some of the cons. Lack of stars in photographs. The flag moving. Radiation exposure. Shadows and light sources.
What?
And I traveled through the gumdrop forest.
Does that say that? It says that as
Elf.
well?
Yes, it does. There's a
Just the-
gumdrop forest on the moon.
It's on the
I was in the Christmas mood right then and there and had to quote Elf. Crosshairs evidently in photos. Someone was getting sniped at. Identical backgrounds, no independent verifications, and the technology. So which one do you want to start with first? What do you want to dive into, the pros or the cons?
The cons. Well, actually, let's dive into the pros.
Let's dive into the pros first. All right. So starting up on the first one, regarding footprints and tracks. So there are visible tracks and footprints.
What do you mean by visible?
Well, I'm getting ready to read this little blip, and then we'll
Okay.
discuss it. So astronaut footprints and rover tracks are still visible on the lunar surface, as confirmed by high-resolution images from NASA's Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, or LRO, and various other lunar orbiters. These images show clear signs of human activity, including the paths taken by astronauts and rovers. So, the fact that, I mean, tracks are still visible in today's time, I feel like is a pretty solid.
Well, I obviously believe the moon, or maybe that offended some people. I believe the moon landing was real, but what someone would say to that is, well, NASA is just going to put out pictures that support its narrative regardless.
And that could be doctored, you know, theoretically. Like if their pictures released by NASA, NASA can
Yeah.
theoretically do whatever they want to them before they release them.
So that's kind of like he said, she said type thing. And even though I would point to being able to verify that pictures are real, but
Yep,
for the sake of trying to get someone to believe, maybe when you don't have a specialist there to show you why a picture is not actually a picture, not like an AI created image,
for
you
sure.
know, on to the other evidence.
And for me, it just goes back to like it's all fine and dandy,
I can't even
if
believe
it.
we have to have this conversation with people, but I'm sorry, go
No,
on.
I know. It's kind of interesting to just dive into and talk about as well, because it's. I mean, anytime
There
I've
was
talked to.
deception that went on 100%.
Oh, 100%. Um, but this just goes to show the heavy need, especially in today's time when there's so much distrust around the world for, government's sake, government agency sake, that there needs to be more independent third party verification. Don't just take anyone by their word, especially the government, just because we've seen how some of that's played out in today's time. But
Yeah.
having companies like SpaceX or these, independent research organizations that are, studying the stars and the planets, that
Hmm.
have telescopes, that have mega telescopes that can actually zoom in and see various aspects of our galaxy, our solar system, planets, etc. Like we need more verification from those organizations rather than just being told from NASA, like, yep, this is it, believe it.
Yeah.
And I think, in today's time, we have more access or more ability to be able to do that than we have in the past.
I think SpaceX could really help with that. And
Absolutely.
I think they do. I don't know. I mean, there are pictures and videos when that thing goes into space, but
Yep. Well, that's why the Artemis mission, granted, it's not without NASA,
hmm.
unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you want to look at it. But as we continue down this road, I mean, again, if it's not true, the cat's going to be out of the bag at some point.
They have a cat
And
up
that
there.
they do. It's thriving up there, from what I heard.
Jeez, it's in a
The
bag.
it is. That's how it, yeah, survives.
Well,
But
that's
lunar
how it's
samples, over 382 kilograms of moon rocks were brought back to Earth by the Apollo astronauts. And these samples have been studied by scientists worldwide, and their composition is distinct from Earth rocks, providing physical evidence of the moon landings. The rocks are older than those found on Earth, containing no volatiles typical of Earth's atmosphere, further validating their lunar origin. I'm before we, I mean, as we're diving into this one, did you hear about the one story that one of these astronauts was able to keep one of the lunar rocks and gave it to some foreign, prime minister or whatever, and then they went and tested it and found out it was just petrified wood?
I think I've heard that. I mean, I feel like I've heard it, but have I thought about it in any relevant sense up until you just mentioning it? No.
So, not saying again all 382 kilograms are that, but it was just interesting. Um, so I mean the lunar samples 100%. I mean, what do you think about the samples?
I mean, I think if that's the case, then that's a really good bit of evidence against it in terms of, us actually landing there. But how many people are going to go look at the chemical composition, like the regular chemical or, comp material composition of the gravel on the moon versus Earth? So, again, I think for anyone that's a practical person, that would be a perfect way to say, look, this is what this is, and that's that. But in terms of talking to someone in conversation, I would want a stronger argument.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like the samples, like, it is what it is. It's
Yeah,
just not a whole lot to say about that one. This one's interesting, the laser reflectors. The Apollo missions left behind laser
that's the most
reflectors.
convincing one to me.
Yeah, the laser retro reflectors on the moon.
Hmm.
And for those out there, these reflectors are used by scientists to bounce lasers back and forth from Earth to the moon to measure distance. And these, multiple observatories around the world, including those not affiliated with NASA, which is, that third party verification, have actually used these lasers, confirming that, okay, if there's laser reflectors up there, guess what? We had to have gone to the
It
moon.
was Iran.
That is the stupidest reasoning. Oh my gosh. I still can't get over the fact that a congressman was like, the drones are Iranian.
No, it wasn't just, it was, I watched a video today. You might have sent it to me where it was a cop talking about how he heard from people with top secret clearance that these were Iranian drones coming from a mothership, and it's just
Yeah.
like, okay, then you heard complete BS from a top secret clearance
Who's
person.
feeding disinformation?
Yeah, he's just like, guess what? I'm not supposed to tell you this, but come here, come here.
They probably went and
It's
got a
Iran.
couple of beers.
We're
He's like,
gonna
guess
launch
what?
30 missiles at them tomorrow. We can't let this go unanswered.
Yeah, it's crazy. For
And
anyone
Iran's
that,
literally just like, dude, this sucks because they know they can't beat us in a war.
yeah,
And they're just like, man, we probably shouldn't have said all that death to America stuff.
yeah, go figure. I wish South Park would get a hold, or I hope they do make an
They
episode
have.
about all this drone stuff.
Oh, the drone. I mean,
But let's not get too distracted by the drone stuff. We've got some moon stuff to talk about here.
all
But
right,
yeah,
back
no,
to the
I mean
moon.
the laser reflectors.
This is
That's
what we're
pretty.
doing. We're going back to the moon.
Yep, laser reflectors, pretty self-explanatory. Really, really cool. Um, would be curious to hear what doubters would say about that. Um,
I don't. That's the one that I am. That's really hard to dispute because if I'm pretty sure if you got a powerful enough telescope, you could probably see those
oh yeah,
mirrors on the moon. So
absolutely.
how did they get there? Or maybe
Unless, go
we
ahead.
got mirrors from the moon and that's how they were invented here.
Yeah, we imported them from the moon.
Yes, but we didn't land. We just flew really low and grabbed them.
Individuals could say, well, what if it was set up by a probe?
What? I don't know. Which one?
And that's the thing.
Yeah, that's a very loose statement to throw out because there's
Yep,
a lot of follow up to
100%. It's looking pretty
do with
good for
that.
the moon landing, people.
All right, now the conversations
Well,
against it. Or wait, are we
I
not?
mean, photographic and video evidence, that's again just self-explanatory. There's 8,400 publicly available photos or video, thousands of hours of
Doctored,
footage.
doctored,
And I mean, people could say that.
doctored. They all came from a doctor.
Yes.
They were doctored.
Pepper?
Maybe.
Or, yeah. I mean, so these media depict various activities on the moon, including planting the flag, which appears to, this is interesting, which appears to flutter due to the horizontal rod at the top of the pole rather than any wind.
Hmm.
So, there you go. Third, and this is another one. I feel like, along with the laser reflectors, this is another pretty heavy hitting observation. So,
Yeah.
third party observations. The Soviet Union, despite being in competition with the US during the space race, they tracked and confirmed the Apollo mission's trajectories to and from the moon. Independent observations from various countries, observatories, and even amateur astronomers further corroborate the events.
Yeah, that's just there's certain things that have shaped history that would not have been, I mean, for instance, like that would not have been a possibility to shape history unless it actually happened.
Yep.
So I don't,
Especially by our arch rival at the time.
yeah. So I feel like we're just going to land on the side that the moon landing was real, but I feel like there's also going to be, out of the 30 people, there's going to be at least two that there's going to be at least a percentage that are like the moon landing was fake and this, and I really want to hear their argument if they really do
Yep.
have it, but let's are we through with the reasoning for why it was real?
There's one more I do want to mention before we go over to the cons.
Please do. You
So
have the floor, sir.
The consensus of eyewitnesses and participants. So over 400,000 people were involved in the Apollo program. No credible whistleblower or insider has ever come forward to claim the missions were staged.
Because they're all being paid so much.
I mean, people could say that.
Faking space is a pretty profitable business.
You want to know what's really cool?
What?
Derek's dad's dad, so Derek's grandpa, actually worked at NASA as a weatherman down in Houston as all this was going on.
What do you mean by weatherman? Was he like the guy on the news for NASA and he's like, well, there's clouds today. We're not going to launch the rocket. So that's what you guys got to know, and that's my job.
I mean, not like a weatherman like on TV.
He was a
but
meteorologist.
It was, yeah, basically.
He studied meteors.
Meteorology. Pretty interesting, though, because, like, not like that really hasn't changed in today's time, which I don't want to go down a rabbit hole or a tangent, but with his, considering it's been 60 years and, yeah, we're still basically grounded or have the opportunity to be grounded by weather. Like, we can't just launch. You know, it's not like an airplane that can just take off in rain. It's like, okay, everything needs to be pretty much perfect for us to launch a rocket.
And it's not
So
just
like
weather.
just how much of a heavy intensive process, like being a meteorologist for NASA during that time, like how important obviously that would have come into play, because if everything wasn't perfect weather-wise,
Yeah.
you would have been screwed.
Well, there's also beyond weather, like a certain place that the Earth has to be in rotation for
Yeah.
them to be, and it's just like everything has to line up perfectly. And
It's
that was one of the
fascinating.
things that Elon Musk talks about in terms of going to Mars is you
Yep.
have a chance every like 2.5 years.
Yep.
That's the crazy part, is you can send one, no one else is going until 2.5 years later. And if the weather is really bad on that day, I
Hmm.
mean, just the amount of things that were like maybe there's just a storm that's in for a few weeks. The amount
Yep.
of things that could prolong that to 7 years. Yeah, no,
Legit.
5 years.
Yeah.
Oh
But then
man,
also factoring in the
mental
actual
math.
time it takes to travel to Mars, you know?
I think
That's
it
like
takes 6 months, I think.
it's like I think a 7 month journey. So you're over three
I think
years.
it's an 8 month journey.
I think it's 7 months and 3/4. So get it right. Get it right.
I don't know where you're getting your information, and I'm really not liking your tone right now.
So theoretically, if we had a crew on Mars and they needed help, it'd be over 3 years.
I forgot my charger.
That's kind of crazy. That
What if
is
you
wild.
were, what if you could text and you're like, be right back, my phone's dying.
BRB.
3 years later.
Oh. All right, let's read some cons.
All
Number
right.
one, the lack of stars in photographs. One of the most
Um,
cited points in the absence of star or is the absence of stars in the photographs taken on the moon. Conspiracy theorists argue that the moon has no atmosphere to obscure stars, so they should be visible.
Let me ask you a question. Was there a flash? If there was a flash, then that's going to be light projecting against light,
Yep.
and that's going to give you a black background.
Yep. I'm not
And
the
I
expert.
assume there's a flash. It seems like it'd be dark in space.
One
Well,
would
actually, not
generally
dark.
think.
That's stupid. It's not dark. You can see everything. But in terms
Depending
of
on, yeah, because
just
we
being
weren't on the,
able to, I just don't, I don't think that's a very strong argument. But
yeah.
like, can we look up and break down a little bit why that actually is? Let's see if I was on the hitting the nail on the head
What?
or hitting the head on the nail
What? What do you want?
in terms of the flash going against the starlight, and that's why you would have a black background. Or
Uh,
let's just what would be the reasons that that would not be a valid argument?
why?
Are you using Chat GPT?
No. Why don't you use ChatGPT?
What?
I'm using Grok.
Grogu?
Grok.
All right.
Actually. Well, actually. Oh, it linked. Come on. I hate cookies, man. Every time you open up a website and they're like, "Do you want to accept these?" And they make it really hard for you to reject it.
Or you have to click manage the cookies and click the ones that you don't want.
Yep. And I'm like, I don't want to bother with that.
Okay, here we go. The first is exposure settings. Cameras used during the Apollo missions were set to capture well-lit objects such as the lunar surface, astronauts, and equipment. The moon's surface reflects sunlight, making it extremely bright. To avoid overexposing these subjects, the camera settings, shutter speed, aperture, ISO were adjusted for the bright foreground.
Yep.
Dynamic range. The dynamic range of the film used during the moon landings was limited. It couldn't capture both the extremely bright lunar surface and the faint light from the stars simultaneously. All right, and there's like all the way up to 6. The third is astronauts focus, common phenomenon, consistent with other photos, videos, and other data.
Yeah. So camera settings.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's a pretty significant reach.
In terms of saying that the camera settings,
In terms of saying it's all fake because there are a lack of stars.
yeah, that's just not looking into the.
No.
Well, listen, if anyone wants to disagree with that, that's fine. But there's legitimate reasons that can happen, and not only are they legitimate, they're accounted for.
Yep. And then of course the flag moving is the next one. People are saying, "Oh, the wind, it was in a studio and the wind blew it." But again, it goes back to the aspect of on the actual flagpole there was a horizontal crossbar to keep the flag from unfurling, from folding, basically, just to keep it anchored properly.
So say it again.
So I'll just read it. So um, the counter argument for the flag moving,
Yeah.
with individuals saying it was due to wind, the counter argument is that the flag had a horizontal rod at the top to keep it unfurled. So any movement seen was likely from the astronauts setting it up, not actually the wind.
I would like to watch the actual video of that
Let me see if I
because
can pull it up.
I know I've seen it, but I just don't remember it in the detail that would allow me to actually give an opinion.
Let's see if I can maybe share.
All right, mate.
Share more screen.
There we go.
Share. All right. You got it?
Yep.
All right. I'm not going to sit there and play the audio. I don't want to get hit with copyright.
That's not even waving.
No.
They're moving it.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like at some point there's going to be some sort of play, even with that horizontal crossbar right there. It's like if you sit there and move it, the bottom is still going to slightly move.
Well, I think one of the things people.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, audience would recommend
So
watching.
essentially, just for anyone who's not watching, what we were watching is someone put a very loose metal foil in a vacuum where there was no air and shook it, and it waved very similarly to the flag in that video, showing that there doesn't need to be air for something to move, which is the thing in space is there no air? Yes, but there's also, it's a vacuum, so there's no pressure. And that means that any physical act is going to have almost the full physical force on whatever it's, touching or moving. So if you move that thing, that physical force is going to transfer all the way through whatever it's, naturally going to go through, including the flag. So,
Yep.
Argument done.
It's looking pretty good. This is one of the ones that we talked about, the radiation exposure. So some argue that passing through the Van Allen radiation belts would have exposed astronauts to lethal doses of radiation, but NASA countered this by explaining that the spacecraft's trajectory minimized the time spent in these belts, and thus, missions were designed to limit radiation exposure.
So they're saying that they would have
They did
had.
get exposed, but because of the trajectory that they took, they were exposed for less amount of time for it to have been detrimental.
I mean, and the other argument is that there would have been too much no matter what,
What do you mean?
too much radiation.
Well, I mean, yeah, if I mean that's the main thing. So some argue that regardless passing through that belt
Hmm.
would have been lethal doses of radiation. But I don't know the exact layout of the belt that per NASA they went through one part of the radiation belt that they were able to minimize the time spent going through it to get past it to get to the moon.
See it. And what's the belt called?
The Van Allen radiation belt. Van Allen.
Van Allen radiation belt, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So it says, it is not a valid reason to doubt the authenticity of the moon landings. Here's why. Nature of the Van Allen belts. They're leather and they're very nice. No,
It's like some Michael Kors type stuff.
right? Kind of more like Gucci. The Van Allen belts are two regions of charged particles trapped by Earth's magnetic field. The inner belt contains mostly protons, while the outer belt contains mostly electrons. Radiation levels vary across these belts. The highest levels of radiation are concentrated in specific areas, not uniformly across the belts. Exposure duration: the Apollo spacecraft traveled through the Van Allen belts quickly, minimizing the astronauts' exposure. The spacecraft took a trajectory that avoided the most intense regions. Shielding provided by the spacecraft. The Apollo spacecraft was designed with aluminum and other materials that provided sufficient shielding against radiation. Radiation levels and dose limits, monitoring and measurements, no observable health effects, modern confirmation. So I don't want to read every single point there, but those
Yeah.
are the.
So there's weaker points and then there's stronger points.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that makes sense. Boom. Roasted.
Boom goes the dynamite.
Then they go into shadows and light sources and then crosshairs and photos. So inconsistencies in shadow directions in photos have been used to argue for multiple light sources, suggesting studio lighting. However, the moon's surface has multiple light sources due to reflection from the lunar surface. That makes sense. Earth shine
Yeah,
on the astronaut suit, which can
I was
cause
just gonna say
very,
that. I mean, the moon is.
yeah,
Do you realize the
it's
moon,
very
like how
reflective.
bright it is on
Yeah.
a full moon?
Well, that's like, I mean, for another example, at least on Earth, you go skiing, snow skiing, snowboarding,
Yeah,
you have to wear goggles or some sort of eye protection because during the day, the light reflecting off the snow is so bright that it's just like it's not good for you. So all that to say, similar principle to the lunar surface that it's a lot lighter
yeah.
and thus is going to have light reflecting off of it like
Well, I
crazy.
mean, it's just a bunch of very gray looking dust, and maybe it's more. There's probably more elements, and there's more color to it if you
Eh,
were there, but
might
for the
just be
most
gray.
part, it reflects a bunch of light, and you are
Yeah.
going to have the shadows are also going to be coming from the light being reflected at the person standing
Yeah.
there.
That's why all the astronauts had their big gold visors dropped because it was so bright.
Well, it was actually just a cool thing to do at the time.
You're right. It still is. Pretty sick. Pretty dope.
Still is.
Ah, sick.
Fuck.
And then evidently crosshairs and photos. Some images from the Apollo mission show the crosshair reticles, means someone had an intervention from Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2.
Modern Warfare 2, I think
Modern
2.
Warfare
I'm gonna go with
2, I
2. Modern
believe.
Warfare 2.
Yes.
I'm gonna go with Modern Warfare 2.
Which evidently these crosshairs are supposed to be etched into the lens appearing behind objects. This is often attributed to photographic processing or dust on the lens rather than evidence of fakery. That one's a reach. Like that's
I again, I don't have the actual photos in question in front of me, so I can't really have an opinion on that.
yeah. I mean, I don't because it just to me
Yeah,
it
you do.
makes less
You have
sense.
them. Where are they?
Wouldn't you like to know?
Yeah, everyone would.
Nope.
You know what?
I'm keeping them in my back pocket.
Is that where they're at?
Can neither confirm nor deny.
I don't know. I just said it because it sounded
I
good.
don't know.
I don't know.
Next one is identical backgrounds. Conspiracy theorists claim that identical backgrounds and photos supposedly taken miles apart on the moon indicate a small studio set. But then, I mean, that can be countered, or it can be easily
Well, I
explained.
mean,
Not
that's
easily.
that's the thing is indicate is not something that you would
Correct.
use in court to prove
Yep.
something.
Right.
I mean, you would use it to support something, but you would not use it as your closing.
As a full argument. No.
Yeah.
And
Maybe if your full argument was predicated on this gives the indication this person is guilty, but like you wouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a very strong statement.
It's like maybe, could be, possibly. We don't know.
It's
but it
going
might.
in that direction, and we're gonna keep pushing it.
We're
that
just
way.
gonna go with it.
Yeah.
This next one's really interesting. No independent verification. Some argue that since only NASA has the original footage, there's no independent verification. Which, boom, we just talked about that. There were multiple independent organizations and Russia, or the Soviet Union at the time, tracking the Apollo mission all the way to the moon and back. So for those that sit there and say, no, I mean, our biggest adversary confirmed that we did. So if that doesn't tell you much, I don't know
They're
what
working
would.
with us to trick the population.
Oh my gosh.
And you know what's so sad is Candace Owens fully believes the moon landing was fake. And there's probably going to be, again, I know there's people listening that are like, I can't believe you didn't even give that enough scrutiny. And people are just freaking out, just standing up in their cubicle at work and throwing their
While they're
computer at their
listening to us,
coworker.
absolutely.
Yes, because they are so upset that we haven't given it a fair shot. But
you're just wrong.
it's just one of those things where, like, you just got to comment if you want us to talk about it again.
Yeah. What if this is get our audience thinking this might be a ploy to get you guys engaged? Who knows?
Hey.
So you better
Stop.
get engaged
Stop.
or else.
Don't say that.
I know.
You want
I
them
went
to
there.
get engaged?
Yes. To be married.
Propose to someone.
To be married.
It makes the show better.
We all gathered here today. Do you get the reference?
Nope.
Dude.
Shrek?
Oh, God. Oh, God. No, The Princess Bride. My gosh. You
I
got
have seen The Princess Bride. I just don't remember that accent in the...
It's the
there.
priest.
Well, I would assume that would be the person.
You need to go watch the scene because it's pretty legendary.
You want to push it out on that one? You want to watch the Princess Bride scene and then close her
I don't
out?
know if we can. I don't know if we can do that just for copyright purposes.
Well,
I'd prefer not to get canceled because
Right.
I'd like to be able to do episode 18.
we get sued for like $17,000 for our 17th episode.
We don't have it. We don't have it to pay.
I don't have the money. I'm sorry, mate.
Yep, that's otherwise I would. I mean, until we get to a point of becoming big time, maybe stay away from some copyright stuff.
Well, that would have been a really cool way to close that out, but
That would. Now it's just
I
weird.
guess you're just gonna have to follow the law and just be the guy who's following the law. No one wants to follow the law but you.
It's just awkward now. I don't know what to do.
Yeah. I wish you wouldn't have done that.
I know it's crazy, but well, I know there's probably a good probability that we may not be filming or recording an episode next week just because
First
of
time I'm
Christmas.
hearing it.
Because of Christmas, unless you wanna, we'll
That
do it
sounds
on
like an
Christmas.
excuse.
Well, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm trying to find any which way that I don't have to get on here.
He doesn't even give me holidays.
I work, master's got me working.
Work, Mexican
Work
work.
is never finished.
All right, South Park. That was
Yes.
South Park. That was not our thoughts.
No, that was South Park. Copyright. Sorry.
Sorry,
Disclaimer, not ours. Therefore, it's okay.
not our South Park. Copyright.
But
But Merry
yeah,
Christmas to everyone. I hope you guys
absolutely.
have an amazing Christmas and God is good. And I just hope you get to spend some time with your family and you get all the gifts that you want. And if you don't get the gifts you want, make a scene about it and bring it
Make a
up.
big deal.
Bring
Yeah.
it up passive aggressively at inconvenient times to the people you expected the gift from.
Over the next 11 and a half months until Christmas next year.
Don't let this go. Hold
Yes.
grudges.
Hold grudges, refuse to talk with people, and refuse to do conflict resolution because you have to hold strong.
Conflict resolution, more like conflict not resolution.
That
Listen,
was a
I
good
don't want
one.
to give away more stuff for free.
That's true. Unless you guys want to pay for content.
I was
That
thinking
sounded
about
really
that.
wrong.
$1 a month.
That sounded.
Just tell us what type of content you want. We're pretty open.
What do you want? We'll do anything. Just kidding. Yeah,
Oh, just kidding.
but well, awesome. Yeah, hope you guys have an awesome Christmas. Hope you get to spend it with some family. If you're traveling, drive fast with your eyes closed. If you're flying, I don't have any advice
There's
for
nothing you
you.
can do about that. When people say have a safe flight, you look at them and say, that's not up to me.
Thank you.
But I appreciate it.
I will have a
There's
drink on the
nothing
flight.
I'm doing to influence the safeness of this flight, but thank you so much for
Yes.
please contact the pilots.
Yes. 100%. So can't help you out on that front, but overall, Merry Christmas, guys. And
Happy New
yeah,
Year.
just enjoy it. Happy New Year as well. Yep.
Yeah.
And we look forward to recording the next episode, which we might surprise you guys. So you have to stay tuned for that and actually pay attention to what
Listen
we're
to
doing
it.
because we're all about the disinformation. But well, awesome. Anything else to say? Last thoughts, final words?
No, we kind of draw this out a lot. So Merry Christmas. Love you guys. Thanks for the interaction. Hope you enjoyed the episode, and we will be back soon.
Absolutely. See you guys. Merry
Yeah.
Christmas.